So I really want to leave my window open because it's super hot out and it's storming out, so it's like the spooky-esque kind of feeling that we got going on here. But there's so many fucking cars that are going by, it's ruining it. Also, there is like, also, there's a fucking crow that just like won't shut the fuck up. Can you hear him? He's fucking annoying. So I'm gonna close my window and then we can get into this. Sad because I really wanted you guys to hear the thunder that's going on out there, and now we're just gonna have to deal with my studio being quiet, but whatever. I just didn't want to listen to that fucking crow squawk the entire time that we did this. So, candle of the day. So I know a couple of YouTubers that I watch that do this. They always have like a candle going in the background, and I think it's kind of cool. I don't really have a background where you guys can see the candle, but I'll show you guys in it. So the candle that we're gonna light today is Red Velvet Cupcake from Bath & Body Works. My boyfriend dropped it, so there's glass in it, and it is what it is. It's not been lit yet. So I'm also just really curious what this one smells like, because it smells like Play-Doh right now. Like, it doesn't smell very good. Like, I remember liking this when I originally got it, but it doesn't smell like it did when I first bought it, and it kind of just smells like Play-Doh now, so I'm curious as to know what it smells like. So let's light it. All right, it is lit. We have our spooky candle going, even though it's like a Christmas candle. Anyway, I have my beverage of choice, which is the McDonald's iced coffee, where the ice has completely melted. So now it's literally just like watered down coffee. That's cold, but that's fine. I'm actually gonna change the battery really quickly, and then we can actually, no, I don't think I need to. We will see. I'm gonna leave it how it is right now, and we will see if I have to change it. I have two ready to go right over here. Oh my God, I can feel the heat from the lights already. I wanna open the window. Oh, it's so stormy out there. It's so spooky, and I can't. So, anyway, hi guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So for tonight's video, I have two stories that are fairly long that I want to read to you guys. They are going to be a let's not meet style video. So these are both stories of people basically running into creepy people, and at the end of the story it just says let's not meet again because they were really fucking creepy, and these stories bothered me a little bit. They were really creepy. So I'm really interested to read them for you guys. If you guys are interested in this makeup look, I didn't film it again because I am the worst, but if you guys are interested in this eye look, I can film it. Let me know in the comments down below if you are interested in me doing a tutorial on this eye look. I think this eye look turned out really pretty, so let me know if you guys want a video on it, just because I didn't do it because I was boring and lame and I didn't film it. So it is what it is. I have really started to get into the spooky series and really starting to get into reading stories and just coming up with content for you guys, so I really haven't been filming a whole lot of makeup videos. So if you guys are still interested in me filming tutorials on makeup, let me know and I will do it in the next couple videos. I mean, I'm not going to stop doing makeup videos, but I mean, I want to focus more towards spooky content right now, just because that's the vibes I'm feeling right now, and yeah. So let me know if you guys are interested in this eye look and I will film it. Also, my nails are from the brand Scorpio Nails, so if you guys are interested, I do have a code. I do have a code down in my description box where you guys can save some money. So if you guys are interested in some press-on nails that you guys can switch out, and they are really great quality and they actually feel like acrylic nails. Like, they feel really, really sturdy and they're nice. Like, in the link down below, you guys can save some money. So you can check them out. They're on Etsy and they have a website. They're Scorpio Nails. So I really like them, and I really like the fact that I can just pop them off and pop new ones on when I'm bored of the set that I'm wearing. Although I literally just put these on and they go perfectly with my spooky series. So I'm excited. Also, I still have my Ouija board nails, so that can also go with my spooky series. Anyway, let's jump into this. Anyway, now that I finally got Reddit to fucking open. So if I move around and I kick my light, I'm sorry, I'm in my big office chair again. See, I just hit my desk. I'm in my big office chair again because my other one is really squeaky and I don't like how squeaky it is, and yeah. So if I move around and I come out of focus, sorry. Anyway, the first story is called Hey, Don't Worry, I'm a Good Guy. He's not a fucking good guy. Ugh. So creepy. This story freaked me out when I read it a couple days ago. So it is by the Reddit user Pipe. So I will link their story down below and the author down below, and you guys can go read the full story if you guys are interested in reading it, but I'm going to narrate it for you and react to it for you guys and be creeped out with you because it's really fucking creepy. So I don't know what I would even do in this situation. Anyway, let's just get into it before I start rambling about it. So it goes, Hey, don't worry, I'm a good guy. Hi, first of all, I just want to say English is my second language, so please forgive me. If I make any mistakes, grammatical or spelling in the story, I'm about to tell you all. As a backstory, I'm from Malaysia, and this story happened in one of the international airports there. I came from the East Malaysia, and I was a student at one of the local universities in the peninsula of Malaysia. You can't travel to peninsular Peninsula, I'm gonna say this wrong, Peninsula Malaysia by land, because the peninsula and East Malaysia is separated by the South China Sea. So of course the fastest way to get to the peninsula is by flight, and for some reason I really like taking the last flight of the night to get to my destination. I would never, no thank you. No, I don't want to take a red eye. I usually traveled alone and mostly kept to myself, as I'm an introvert and don't really like talking to strangers. I feel that. Before that night, I haven't really encountered any problems with weird people, as the airport tended to be busy and I always stayed in an area filled with other people minding their own business, and in flight, I would just read or listen to some music. I also tended to just ignore the person sitting next to me. That's a mood. One night my flight was unfortunately delayed. We were supposed to reach our destination close to midnight, but with the delay we would reach the airport close to 2 a.m. I remember being frustrated because I know it will be hard to get an Uber that late. I sighed and then just decided that I would spend the night at the airport and grab an Uber the next morning to my university. No big deal, I thought. People do this all the time, so I relaxed into my seat. I forgot to mention that during the flight I was supposed to sit in the middle, but when everyone was seated I noticed that the aisle seat was empty. I quickly moved there. This is when I noticed the guy sitting on the window seat was acting strange. He kept looking at me and was trying to get my attention, but I ignored him with all my might because I was just tired and I didn't really want to have a conversation with a stranger. Okay, same. I just closed my eyes and pretended to sleep. I remember it was really cold inside and was thinking about just turning the AC on my seat off, but didn't really want to move because then the guy would know I'm awake and I would be forced to engage in a conversation with him. It was a 2.5-hour flight after all, and I didn't want to have a conversation during that flight. Then suddenly I felt a whole lot colder than before and I opened my eyes just a little to figure out what was going on. When I saw the guy actually adjusting both the AC from the top of his seat and also the AC from the middle seat to face me. What a fucking dick. I would have said something. I would have been a whole fucking bitch about it. I got very annoyed, but I'm not actually somebody who likes to confront people for anything, so I just sucked it up and closed my eyes, even though I was now shivering, and just sort of hugged myself and continued to ignore this guy. I wouldn't do that. I would literally punch him. I honestly don't know what the guy was thinking doing that to me. I thought he was doing whatever he was doing and wouldn't bother me anymore after that, right? After all, I didn't respond to whatever the heck he was doing, even though I was suffering in silence now from the cold. However, when the air hostess started to distribute the pre-made meals to the passengers and he noticed that I didn't have a meal when he got his, he suddenly tapped my shoulder and I just tensed up and looked at him in alarm because I don't really like being touched by people due to some childhood trauma. But this guy doesn't seem to notice my reaction to him and he just smiled at me. Hey, I noticed that you don't have a meal. Aren't you hungry? You know what? You can have my meal, he said, and I just looked at him from before saying no, it's okay, and smiled uncomfortably. But he insisted and even got me to lower my table and forced me to accept his meal. Then he ordered another meal for himself and started to tell me that he can't eat alone after seeing me. He said he felt sorry for me and that it was in his nature to help people. And then he just watched me eating his meal with a big grin on his face. He didn't even touch his meal until after I was done. That's creepy as fuck. Now, if this meal wasn't prepared by the airline and it was still sealed, I would definitely think he put something in his food. And then I thought maybe I was just being paranoid. Maybe he really was just trying to be helpful. Even though I felt extremely uncomfortable and he was being a little forceful, he even moved to the middle seat so he could be closer to me. He then asked me what my name was and told me his name was Sam and that he worked somewhere in the peninsula. I just nodded and then he asked where I was from and why I was going to the peninsula. I gave him a short but honest answer just to be polite. When I told him I was a student at one of the local universities there, he then asked me how I was going to get to my university at this hour. I stupidly said, "Oh, I'm just going to spend the night at the airport, I'm used to it." His response was, "What? No, that's too dangerous for a girl as pretty as you." Ew. He said before continuing, "You know what, my brother has a place not far from the airport. Why don't you just stay with me? Oh, don't worry, my sister-in-law is there. You wouldn't be alone. Don't worry, I'm a good person." If you have to say you're a good person, you're not a fucking good person. Stop. He said still with a big grin on his face. I immediately became afraid and quickly said no while shaking my head. "There'll be a lot of people at the airport, I'm used to it." I said, but he ignored me and he began to chatter happily, not caring whether I answered him or not. At one point he even asked me if I was single and asked for my phone number, and I just gave it to him, but was planning to block his number if he ever tried to contact me or something. He even made a few comments about my looks and how he found me so cute and that I looked so lost, so he just had to say something to me. At this point I began thinking about my options. For some reason I didn't think about approaching one of the air hostesses for help because technically he hadn't done anything wrong to me. But I felt scared anyhow. I decided that I would get out as fast as I can as soon as we landed and ditch this guy, just to be safe. I don't know how, maybe I'm just being an idiot, but I have had several encounters with creepy people before that, and it was so bad that a few of my friends and cousins called me the weirdo magnet due to my naivety. So no, I'm not taking any chances. After all, I was a first-year student and had just started university and didn't have anyone that I can really call my friends yet. So yeah, I'm on my own. So back to the story. The plane landed and I tried to get out as fast as I could, but I have a hand-carrying luggage and it was slowing me down. Sam was standing behind me the whole time, and once we got to the ground, he actually held my hand as if it was the most natural thing to do. I froze. I was really scared and honestly didn't know what to do. I absolutely hate it when people touch me. My family never hugs me, and my very few friends knew that I hated being touched unless I tell them it's okay to touch me. That's a normal reaction. Don't fucking touch somebody you don't know. Or even if you do know them, don't fucking touch them unless you have permission. Fuck. Consent, people. Ugh. I know I should do something, maybe scream for help, but I just stood there froze. And like the idiot I am, I just followed this stranger. No, don't do that. Fuck that. I would have ditched my shit and bolted. Then we walked past the toilet and I suddenly got an idea. I told Sam I needed to go to the bathroom. At first he said no time because his brother was here and we needed to hurry up. But I insisted on going and said I really had to pee. And I wasn't lying either. So he sighed and said okay. I got hopeful. Maybe I could escape this guy. So I started to drag my stupid luggage to the toilet, but this guy stopped me and told me he can look after my luggage for me. I said no thanks, but he just grabbed my luggage from my hand and told me to hurry up. So I walked to the toilet and stayed there for a bit, panicking. I thought about ditching my luggage and tried to escape without it, but then I remembered that my laptop was inside that luggage and it has all the important documents that I needed for my study. I tried to call somebody, but my phone was of course dead. I started to tear up a bit and decided that I would just ditch my luggage and run away somehow. But I must have taken too much time in the toilet because then I heard someone enter the toilet and call my name. Yeah, it was Sam. My heart dropped. I slowly got out from the bathroom, fully convinced that this was it for me. I'm doomed. Now, you would think that I could ask for someone's help or just approach one of the staff for help. I know I should. But as soon as he touched me, my skin crawled and I just got really scared again. And since it was already very late and we were really the last flight to arrive that night, there was very few staff around, and those who were working were engaged in something else or were surrounded by other passengers, probably asking for help about accommodations for the night or something. I just watched them helplessly, hoping someone might notice my distress, but everyone just ignored me. While walking towards his brother's car, he told me to tell his brother that I'm his girlfriend and that to just stay quiet and he'll do all the talking. That's a red flag. This whole thing's a red flag, but that's a red flag. What the fuck? Then I thought maybe I could ask his brother for help and just send me to my university instead of going to wherever this guy was planning to take me. But then I started to think that what if the brother doesn't believe me? I mean, between family and a stranger, who would you believe? Plus, maybe I'm being stupid and Sam was actually helping me even though he was forceful and wouldn't let go of me. Maybe he was just overly nice? Seeing no other choice, I sadly got into the car with them. Now, I'm no good with cars, but I remember the car I got into with the stranger is a black double cabin Helix, but I didn't see the plate number. So we drove for about an hour, and all the time I was scared and this guy wouldn't let my hand go. I noticed the brother kept looking at me through the mirror and I was even more scared and uncomfortable. So they brought me to this condo. I was hoping that there really was a sister-in-law and that all of this was just a huge misunderstanding. But then his brother told me that his wife wasn't home and that she was visiting some family and will only be back tomorrow. I don't know what to think about anymore, so Sam told me I can stay in his room, and tomorrow morning he'd take me back to the university. I really didn't want to go to his room, but I didn't really want to stay in the living room with two men that I didn't know. He showed me to his room and then handed me my luggage back, and I just locked the door. I was sitting in my bed looking at the door. My heart was pounding like mad. For a while nothing happened. Then I heard a knock at the door. I tried to be quiet because maybe whoever it was will just leave me alone, thinking I'd gone to sleep. "Hey, it's Sam. Are you awake?" he said in a quiet voice. "I just need to talk to you for a bit." When I didn't say anything, I heard the doorknob was being turned, but it was locked, so he couldn't get in. Then it was quiet again for a bit, until I heard the jingle of a key, and my heart just dropped when I realized he had a key and was trying to get in. The fuck? So fucking creepy. I hurriedly told him to wait, and I opened the door just a bit. Sam was there smiling at me again. "Oh, I thought you were sleeping. Why did you lock the door?" he asked. "What do you want? I'm tired." "I just really want to rest," I told him and tried to shut the door, but then he pushed on the door and prevented me from shutting the door properly. "Sam, please just leave me alone for now. I'm really tired," I told him. But he wouldn't budge. "Hey, what's wrong? I'm a really good person." "No, you're fucking not. I'm a really good person. You have nothing to fear from me. You can trust me," he said. At this point, I got another idea. "Oh yeah? Prove it. Give me your IC, Malaysia identification card," I said, and to my surprise, he said okay. And he really did give me his IC. "See, I'm not lying to you," he told me. So yeah, I got his card and saw that his name really was Sam, but that doesn't really mean anything. The card seemed legit, but he was still a stranger to me. So long story short, he got inside the room and locked the door behind him. So it was just him and me, trapped inside this room. He tried to have a conversation with me and tried to get me to sit down with him on the bed, but as soon as he tried to get close to me, I just stood up and tried to get to the door, at which point he proceeded to grab my hand and tried to get me away from him, and I screamed and told him to get away. I don't remember much about what happened next, but the next thing I know, I heard his brother's voice calling for us and asking what happened, and he was banging on the door. Now I was crying hysterically and struggling to open the door, while Sam just sat on the bed looking at me, seemingly stunned, as if he didn't do anything wrong. I finally managed to get the door open, and at this point I was sobbing and told his brother I wanted to leave now and that I didn't want to be there anymore. Somehow I convinced his brother to just drive me to my university. Of course the gate was locked, and the security guard there told me that I had to walk to my dorm because he can't let any car inside after midnight, and I just said it was fine and I walked the rest of the way, but I didn't care and didn't want his brother to find out where I stayed anyway, for fear that they might come back and search for me. I was exhausted, and I remember telling my friends back home about what had happened the next day after getting so much needed rest, and they dismissed it. Why would your friends dismiss it? Are they even real friends? Like, fuck that. No way. They dismissed it and saying that I was being dramatic and that it was actually romantic. What the fuck? No. Yeah, they actually think it was romantic and I missed a good opportunity to find a boyfriend. And I was like, what the heck? You see my same reaction. What the fuck? Which part was romantic? The part where he practically dragged me to come with him even though I repeatedly said no? Or the part where he locked me in his room with him? What the actual fuck? Oh, and I still had his IC, but kind of forgot I had it with me when I arrived at my room and kind of just lost it and cried silently until I realized I was still holding his damn IC and cried harder, waking up my roommates. I didn't know them that much, but they did kind of help me and told them bits and pieces of what happened to me, but honestly I just wanted to sleep and forget anything ever happened. For a week I lived in terror and refused to go out of the dorm in fear of Sam and his brother might come back. Sam did text me and called me a few times asking about his IC and asked me to hang out with him and his brother again, as if nothing happened and everything was fine. And then he told me he went to my university looking for me and I freaked out. I asked my roommate to drop off his card with the security guard and told Sam to just pick it up there, but he never came. I blocked his number after that. I ended up dropping out of university a few weeks later, but that was for a different reason unrelated to this story, and moved back to my family in East Malaysia. Now I don't know if I'm actually being over dramatic about what happened that night, and I don't really care if anyone believes me, but it felt good to finally let this off my chest. And I don't really know what would have happened that night if I didn't scream and convince his brother to send me back to the university. But Sam, the supposedly good guy, let's never meet again. Ever. Okay, there's so much wrong with that story. First of all, I am sweating. I am really sweating from that story. This is the second time I've read it now, and holy crap. Okay, first of all, if somebody's sitting next to you on an airplane and you don't want to talk to them, simply just tell them you don't want to talk to them. I get it, some people don't want to be rude and some people don't like confrontation, but if you don't want to talk to somebody, don't feel that you are obligated to talk to somebody. Consent. If they don't have your consent, you don't have to engage with them. If somebody forcefully tried to make me eat a meal with them and I didn't want to, that would be a firm fucking no. Absolutely not. Don't ever let anybody push you around. Fuck that. And grabbing your luggage, grabbing your hand, forcefully dragging you to an unknown fucking place where you don't want to go, yeah, that's fucking kidnapping, and that's not okay. Even though it's kind of ended okay and you got his brother to convince you to bring you home, you were still fucking kidnapped. That's fucked. Don't ever go anywhere with anybody if you don't want to. If you are unwilling and somebody's dragging you into a fucking car and you don't want to go, scream. I also find it really funny that he said in the story that it's too dangerous for her to stay at the airport for somebody as pretty as her. Why is going back to a random person's house you don't know any less dangerous? It's not. It's creepy. Fuck off. This whole story was a giant red flag. I would never go somewhere with somebody that I didn't know. I would never go to somebody's house that I didn't know and I didn't want to go. This just screams like she got kidnapped and it's creepy as fuck. And I hope she never meets him again because fuck that. I would seriously report this. Like, that's too creepy. Anyway, that story freaked me out. I read it a couple days ago and I literally had to stop reading it halfway through because I was getting so worked up and so angry reading it. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I get it, some people aren't confrontational, but don't go to somebody's house if you don't want to. Don't let somebody drag you away if you don't want to. Don't let somebody touch you if you don't want them to touch you. Like, fuck that. This whole story just, it angered me. But I will link the story down below if you guys are interested in reading it yourself. It was actually written fairly good. Like, it was written really well for somebody saying that, excuse all the typos. There really wasn't any typos. I just kind of read it in the way that I would say it, so I didn't have a problem reading it, so it's perfectly fine for me. If you guys are interested in reading it, you can definitely find the link down below. Now we're gonna go on to the next video, or the next story that I have saved here. So this one is My Stalker Still Gives Me Anxiety 4 Years Later. Hey y'all, I have a wild story for you. You might want to grab a hot drink or lock your doors for this one. When I was 16, my parents separated. After a lot of consideration, my mom decided the best thing for my brother and me would be to move from Ohio to Tennessee with her and the man that is now my stepdad. We moved to a small town, and I mean small. There's only about 2,800 people in this town, and out of all of those people, I had to run into one of the craziest people I've ever met in my life. We will call this person Dan, just in case he comes across this. I met Dan through a few mutual friends. He was older than me by a few years. I think he was maybe 20 or 21. My mom didn't like the idea of her 16-year-old daughter hanging out with a 20-year-old man, but she allowed me to go to his house with a couple of my friends anyway. I and my friends pile into a car and start on the road to this guy's house. I was supposed to call my mom and check in with her after an hour or so, which I planned to do. The night goes on and my friends and I are hanging out and having fun. Dan seems like a stable person and he wasn't creepy, just a bit odd. A few weeks go by, I keep hanging out with Dan and eventually exchange info and we start talking to each other more frequently. My mom talks to him and thinks he's a decent guy and she's fine with us hanging out. After a few days of us texting back and forth, we began to flirt. We started to hang out more. He would come to my house and I'd go to his house. We would even go swimming with me and my family. One day he kissed me, which made me feel off at first, but then we started to kiss more, but we never did anything sexual. But we held hands occasionally and we still flirted. Eventually I made it clear to him that I was not interested in a romantic relationship with him because I didn't want to get in trouble and my mom didn't want us to be anything more than friends. Everything changed after that. We were still friends, but he started to get controlling and jealous. I got a boyfriend who was abusive in every way. I confided this in Dan and he tried to rekindle our romantic relationship. I told him I still wasn't interested in a romantic relationship with him and he seemed to accept this. Things started to get even creepier though. We still talked daily through text and we still hung out and eventually he began to show up wherever I went. At first I thought it was just a coincidence because the town was so small until he started to show up in the bigger towns I would frequent. I would go to get groceries a good 45-minute drive from my house and I would receive text messages saying you look great today or that shirt really brings out your curves. Keep in mind I was 16. This man was in his 20s. Soon after the text, he would start to show up in the same location I was at. Usually after one of his creepy messages, I began to communicate less with him and let him know I didn't appreciate his messages. I also didn't hang out with him as much. Then he started to get angry with me and pick fights. I would come home from school and he would be at my house. I would be with my mom at the store and we would see his bag he carried with him sitting on our doorstep sometimes. He would just be sitting there waiting for us to get home. By now my mom realized something wasn't right and asked me what was going on, so I told her about everything that had happened so far. One night I got a text from Dan that he's walking up to my house and he will see me in the morning. I told him not to come and that it was too dangerous. I live up in the mountains. He said okay, he would stay home, so I went to bed relieved that I didn't have to deal with him at the same time in the night or early morning. I woke up the next morning and took my dog for a walk. As I was walking down the road, I heard bushes rustle and Dan pops out. I was scared and had no idea what to do, so I was nice to him and offered him to come back to my house for coffee. When we got back to the house, I told my mom what had happened. She told him she was taking him down into town with her. After that, he didn't text me for a few days. Thanksgiving Day came around and I was happy to have a nice dinner with my family, and then my mom texted me, "Dad is here, please be civil." When I got home, my little brother wanted to go for a walk and obviously Dan wanted to go with us, so I let him. He and my brother went ahead of me and I couldn't hear what they were talking about. Later when we got back to my house, my brother told me Dan showed him a knife and told him he would kill any man that enters my life. I told my mom I needed to talk to her and she told me to go with her to get potatoes because we needed them for dinner. So I got in the car and on the way to the store I told her about what Dan did and she decided to call his family to come get him. However, getting him to leave was not easy. When me and my mom had got back home, Dan started to yell at me for leaving at this point. I had enough and yelled back and told him that he was under no circumstances to talk to me like that, especially in my house, especially when he wasn't even invited. That was the wrong thing to do. He took the knife from our kitchen and locked himself in our bathroom, threatening to kill himself. He was burning himself with a lighter. We had to threaten to call the cops on him to get him to leave. After that incident, we tried to get a restraining order on him, but the cops said there was nothing they could do. I got married last year and saw him at a place I worked a few months before my wedding came. He came through my line, so I had to ring out his items and be polite. The next day he messaged me and said he had a dream about us being together and how it was like the old days. I told him I was getting married and I thought maybe we could have a decent conversation since he got on medication and was going to a psych doctor. I have never hit block or delete so fast in my life, and when I do see him around town, I start to panic. I still get anxiety attacks. So creepy stalker that made my teenage years stressful, let's never meet again. Sorry, that entire story was kind of hard to read. There was a couple punctuation errors and I'm just not that great of a reader in general. I could read it fine in my head, but trying to read it actually out loud was a little bit of a struggle for me. So we'll see how well I edit that one. But that's really creepy. That kind of reminds me of something that happened to me personally in my personal life. When I was younger, I was in high school, like in high school areas. I became friends with this guy. I'm not gonna say his name or anything just because that's not relevant. I became friends with this guy just through a mutual friend over Facebook. We were friends at first, like we talked all the time. We talked probably almost every day. We hung out probably a handful of times. He would pick fights over text message constantly with me. He would just get into these stupid arguments and it's like it got to the point where I just wasn't really interested in talking to him anymore just because it was more of a hassle than it was to be friends with this guy. And then Fast forward a couple years later, me and my ex-boyfriend had broken up. I hadn't told this guy that me and my ex had broken up, and I hadn't told this guy that I had moved back home, and I woke up one morning to flowers on my car at my parents' house, which I found really odd considering I didn't tell him where I lived. I didn't tell him that I had moved back home. I didn't tell him that me and my boyfriend had broken up. So just to leave me flowers like on my car was really odd to me, just because I don't really understand how he knew where I lived, because when we were friends, I lived somewhere else. I lived off on my own, and he had come over once, and it was a completely different house. So I don't understand why he got the idea that I lived with my parents again, or how he even remembered where my parents' house was, or how he found my car. I don't know. It was really creepy. I blocked him after that, and I've since received one email from him, a really, really long email, just like basically asking me to talk to him again, and I was like, I am not interested in this. So I blocked his email address too. So I hope he never finds me. I hope he never finds my social medias, because I haven't blocked on Facebook, I haven't blocked on Instagram, I haven't blocked literally over email and by number, and I'm still not interested in talking to him. Really creepy, and I mean, I'm probably being dramatic at that from the flower thing, but I really don't remember telling him that I moved back home or that me and broken up. So like the fact that he just shows up with flowers and leaves them on my car with a note, like, struck me as odd. But anyway, these are two of the creepy Reddit stories that I found for the forum Let's Not Meet. I'm going to obviously be doing more videos like this. I have a bunch saved on here and from authors that have given me approval to read their stories. And speaking of which, that is from the author patient_Z_. I got permission to read this story, so if you guys want to read this, you can definitely find it linked down below. So both of these stories, I believe, were from the subreddit Spoopy Cjades. So Cjades is Courtney's. She has a YouTube channel where she reads creepy stories. She reacts to creepy stories. She has Ouija board videos. She has tons of spooky content. So if you guys are interested, I will definitely link her channel down below as well. But it's her Reddit. And she has said that we are allowed to use her Reddit to share around stories and react to stories like this, as long as we get permission from the authors. So that's what I did. So this was 2 more creepy stories to add to this series. I got a lot of really good feedback from the last video that I did, which was the paranormal creepy side. So I will be doing more videos like that. If you guys are interested in having me read your guys' personal stories on my channel, definitely send an email to me, or send me a message on Instagram, send me a message on Twitter, send me a message anywhere that I have linked down below, and I will definitely read your guys' personal stories on my channel as well. I really want this series to take off, and I'm hoping you guys are enjoying it, and I'm excited to read more creepy stories. So again, I apologize because my reading skill level is kind of shitty, and I suck at reading, and I stumble over my words a lot because I talk too fast, and I'm trying to get better at reading. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below for more content like this. And this red velvet cupcake candle still smells like Play-Doh. I don't like this candle. Probably won't be repurchasing it. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye!